Welcome, beautiful beings, change makers, and giants from around the world. We've got another great masterclass for you, so hang tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We've got another great masterclass for you today and an incredible guest. And before we get to that, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping and then I'll introduce our guest and we'll get going. So Rose, do you want to take a minute and share what we're up to?
Yeah, and apologies if there's some feedback on my microphone. So it's just to remind everybody that we have a number of masterclasses coming up. So we have Karan's masterclass today, and then Lindsay Capp has a masterclass on, and she's an emotional intelligence expert and works alongside JP Morgan as part of his Create group. And she has a masterclass on the 7th of the 3rd. So that's the 7th of March. So that's in not that far away. So that's coming up shortly. So do keep an eye out for information on that. And tickets are available, continue to be available for the event. You can bring a buddy ticket where you get a discount. So buy 2 tickets and get a discount off the price, as well as the normal ticket price. So I'll pop the link in the comments for you, so you will be able to access them as and when you need. And if you have got a ticket already, do come and join us on the Facebook interest group and the Ultimate Birmingham Experience, the attendee group as well, which is where we're sharing information about the hotels, travel, transport, and that kind of thing, all the logistics. I think that just about covers it. So feel free to put any questions in the comments, and we're really looking forward to hearing from Karan this afternoon for him, this evening for me.
Yeah, we got people all over the world joining us and the comments are blowing up. So I'll let you run those. I'll go ahead and introduce our guest and we'll get going. Thank you, Rose. All right. So we spotlight Karan Rai. He's the force behind ASGARD Partners Co, a company known for strategic investments in globally impactful companies. Karan's career trajectory spans from earning an MBA at Yale to steering ASGARD to a portfolio worth over $200 million and leading ADS Inc. into a global entity valued at $1.5 billion. His business acumen and leadership are matched by his personal pursuits, including completing the demanding World Marathon Challenge. And Karan is also a public speaker, sharing insights on entrepreneurship with a meaningful edge. And we're lucky enough to have him here in studio with us today. And he said we've got full permission to talk about whatever we want to speak about. And I think the direction I'd like to lead this, Karan, welcome to the show, is to really explore expansion and growth in our worlds. How do we create? We labeled the show purpose-driven being. And I've seen some of your posts where you really dive into creating your world and imagining it different from maybe what it is. And if we talk first maybe about what purpose means to you, and then we'll dive into creation, would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, full permission to take the conversation wherever you want, Nick. I want to make sure that we're in service to all the folks who have joined. And before we even begin that, can I hire you as my main intro guy for like all my regular day meetings?
Yeah, dude.
Like before I have my staff call, can you just come on and take a few minutes?
Good morning. Welcome to coffee. This is Karan Rai. Yeah.
I mean, maybe my management teams at all my companies would listen to me more if it was that kind of gravitas that was starting the conversation.
I love it.
But so first off, thank you for having me on. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you and Rose and answering some questions. And so let's dive right in. Like, what does purpose mean to you? I believe the first question that you posed.
Yeah, let's start there. What is purpose?
Yeah, it is. I think it's so beautifully individual, right? I think so many times we get lost in like there needs to be a very specific archetype or a definition that all of us have to agree for it to be valid. Like that's hallucination of thinking. Now, you can define purpose any way you want to. So the reason you have purpose is because purpose gives you meaning, right? We're not out here searching for purpose for the sake of purpose. It's a vessel. So if you have purpose in your life, what do you get? You get meaning. So what you really want is meaning, and purpose becomes the vehicle through which you get that meaning. So I look at it backwards and I say, what is the meaning I want to create in my life for the short amount of time I'm here, whether it's 80 years or 100 years, right? And I know what that is for me. Like, we all have our talents, we all have our gifts. I'm not a singer, I'm not a dancer, I'm not an artist. I'm a business guy. And I want to use those talents in a way where I create something meaningful by creating businesses that are impactful, by creating environments where people can come and work that are impactful. And so that was I was like, oh, that's what I want out of my life, right? And then you say, like, well, what's the purpose then? And if this is the end goal, then my purpose in that regard became, okay, well, in this particular endeavor, one of my purposes is to build purpose-driven companies. I don't know, it sounds circular in reasoning. Purpose is to build purpose-driven companies, but it's companies that are in service, companies that are highly profitable, but are in service. And it was a thesis. I'm going to divert a little bit. Can I?
Yeah.
Give me the freedom to bring it back full circle for you, because instead of just like I want it to land. So, why did I start ASGARD? Right? Like let's talk about that specifically, because that was a purpose-driven initiative for me. Right? So here's why I started ASGARD. I worked on Wall Street for 10 plus years. I was a CEO of two big companies. They were not my companies. I was a hired CEO. So did business the traditional way, right? Maximizing shareholder value as a key tenet for everything for a very long time. Was very successful at it, enjoyed it, and found it to be pretty hollow, in the scheme of things. So my purpose then became, like, wouldn't it be interesting as an experiment? I'm going to leave that business. I'm going to start a new firm. The firm's going to be focused on, we lead with, does your company provide real value to humanity in some way, shape, or form? And how interesting would it be if in 10 years we have built a global company, a global platform, and then when people ask, well, tell me why you were so successful. I'm like, okay, well, here was our experiment. We are going to lead by buying and investing in and cultivating and creating purpose-driven companies, because if you do that, everything else just falls into place. When people are plugged into a bigger purpose, all of a sudden you don't need standard operating procedures and manuals and handbooks to tell people what it is they need to be.
I like where we're going. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So this is my 10-year, 20-year plan, is just like, at some point I want, and I want to be successful because I think success is a birthright, as long as you're willing to work for it. It's not guaranteed, but it's available to everyone. But I want to be having these conversations in another 10 years when ASGARD is, even bigger than it is now, and then go and tell people, like, not what we're going to do, but look what we've already done. Here's a case study on how you can build very successful investment firms if you lead with purpose as a selection criteria of the kind of companies you build.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yeah.
So that to me, it's like, I wanted to give you a tangible example of kind of how I've thought about purpose. And that's what gets me fired up, right? Like that gets me fired up every morning. We find really interesting entrepreneurs. We find really interesting companies. And having run businesses that were primarily run for profit, it's a whole different ballgame, and it's, I don't know why this is controversial, but it tends to be profits and purpose. People, listen to me right here. All right. One-on-one. Profits and purpose need to coexist, or you don't have a business. If you don't have profits, you have a nonprofit. And guess what? If you have a nonprofit, you need somebody to fund it. Guess who's going to fund it? Somebody who has a business. Right? So I know this is so simple, but it's like, I want to create a model. My legacy when I leave this world ought to be that you can mix purpose and profits. And as a matter of fact, that is a smarter long-term way to build a company.
Okay, I think we're going to dive down 2 rabbit holes here. Okay, one on legacy, the other on purpose, and we'll play with this. So Pablo Picasso said that the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Right? The word purpose, and my understanding of it, the etymology of that word, per, meaning moving forward to, and pose from pausar, to pause. so almost a rest stop along the way. So you've got this journey of life, and you've got this legacy and this impact you want to make, right? So purposes, I had a friend of mine that built a community of 12 million subscribers on YouTube. And he said he lost hope. He lost hope because he reached his purpose and he didn't have another one. And a lot of times what we do is we get hung up on the idea that I only get one for my life, a purpose. But if you think about it, we have Maverick gas stations here in Utah. And I wouldn't make it my life purpose to just go visit one gas station in my trips of life. I would probably visit several along the way, or viewpoints or scenic stops, right?
Yes. Oh, so let me interject, because I think you're so spot on. So, okay, I live my life. I think whatever success I've had in life over the last decade or so, one of my internal tenets is I live within the confines of the laws of the universe, right? Mm-hmm. What those are, you guys can go figure it out, right? I think that's part of the internal journey. Yeah. And here's what I know to be sure, like of all the open questions in science, right? And there's so many of them. There's one that's been answered. There's one thing that we know for a fact about our universe, that it is ever expanding from the minute. Like, so if there's one tangible, factual, scientific fact that all of us can agree on, we can talk about where the stars came from and where, how each one of the elements in the elemental chart forms. Sure. But it's expanding. It's never stopped expanding. So literally the primary purpose of the universe is to expand itself. And you and I are a part of it. We are not independent observers who are looking at the universe and saying, oh, look, there's the universe. There it goes, expanding again. I wonder what it's up to. Like
it's leaving me behind. What's going on here?
And so it's like if you're going to have and this is not me imposing this on anyone, right? So like I never do that. But if I choose to live my life, within the confines of the laws of the universe, because I think the natural laws are the laws and we are governed by them, whether or not we choose to believe it or not. And then I know for a fact that the number one law is the law of expansion.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And so to your point, like when Asgard is done, there'll be something else. There was things before Asgard, there'll be things after Asgard, there's things that I'm involved in. So I think that'll never stop. And so this is the next destination. So this is what's going to keep me busy until I find the next thing that's going to keep me busy. And here's my guarantee to you guys. I don't know how old I'm going to be when I die, but man, I'm going in sideways, just scraped up, just like weathered, leaving it all on the field, just like, woohoo, what a ride.
Yeah.
And the destinations will come up as they go. I'm not too concerned about that.
So let's talk about, the expansion of the universe. We got that going on. We have our impact, our gift on the world. So we create a ripple in the world, whatever that might look like. So each of us has our own fingerprint when it comes to that. And then purpose is whatever gives your life meaning. Like Viktor Frankl talks in Yes to Life, that meaning is given, not found. We don't find meaning, we give it. And so we take what is and we create with it and we expand the universe even more. So Asgard didn't exist prior to Karan Rai. It wasn't even there. But it was always a possibility. And it was a possibility before you. It was a possibility after you if you never did anything. But you took the resources, materials, opportunities, people that were around you and transformed them into what you had in mind. And that created Asgard, which created a ripple, right? And that ripple goes out as part of that expansion that you're talking about. So if we talk about the legacy as the impact that you'll make in your lifetime, not while you're here and when you're gone, Asgard is just one of many impacts that you might make, right? Ripples in the pond, so to speak. Can you talk about that? And
yeah, it's anytime I talk about legacy, I just, my father passed away this October, and, the whole idea of legacy has become so much more crystallized in my head. I had this, we all have this notion of legacy, right? Like,
yeah,
like Nick, you and I both know, and all of you that are on the live stream, we're all gonna die. Guaranteed, right?
Yep.
But yet we don't think about our mortality until some things happen, right? And I've been pretty introspective about my mortality. I'm a big fan of the Stoics. I sit and, it sounds kind of morbid, but I contemplate my end quite often just to give me more meaning for the time that I am here. I think the fact that your life is going to end is what in fact makes your life so beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. I fundamentally believe that. And so this whole concept of legacy, I've I've had a change of heart on what I think it really means after my father's death, because I think a lot of the things that I'll create in this world, ASGARD, it's going to change things. I know that, but I think like what I want to be remembered for, when it's all said and done, like, people that knew me, and this is an intention I hold. Like, if you and I come into contact and you and I spend time together, I want your life, Nick, to be better in some way because we got to spend time together. It doesn't mean I take ownership for making your life better. I'm just saying I'm going to show up with an energy of like, hey, so how interesting would it be, if when my time here is done and people gather, whether it's 2 of them or 200 of them or, 200,000 of them, doesn't really matter.
Right.
And if you were to go survey them and say, hey, like, what's the one thing you say about Karan? I was like, man, like my life was better because he was in it, and that became clear to me at my father's funeral. So my father was a special operator. For those of you guys who are not in the military, he was in special forces for 22 years, led a lot of missions, was just it's a hard man, and a beautiful man. And so his passing kind of happened suddenly. And we didn't have time to kind of get everything together. And so we were getting ready for his funeral services, and they were going to happen kind of within 3 or 4 days of him passing. And my mother let, all of his colleagues know. He was in the Indian Army back in those days, and, also served with the British Army. So she let her colleagues know my dad had passed. And we started getting inundated with calls like, no, you cannot have the funeral till we come visit.
Oh, wow.
Right. And it was like, not quite the way it works here. We got to get it done. So there was like a mutiny almost from the people that served with him. Right. And so we had to set up a live stream for his funeral.
Holy cow. Yeah.
And 3,800 people.
Holy crap. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to do this.
That is legacy.
Imagine
that. And oh man, got me crying already, Nick. Shame on you. And the amount of emails.
Thank you for the shame, man. Thank you. I don't mean to make you cry, but man, what a beautiful moment, honestly, when you're speaking about legacy and the impact of this, right? This isn't made up. These aren't fake emotions. This is real legacy right here.
Like that's legacy. And, my mom and I kind of kid because we still get emails, and, my mom and I kind of go through them together. And the amount of people, and I kid you not, Nick, who have claimed that my father was their best friend.
Wow.
And I don't have the heart to tell them that I was like, hey, you and 232 other people have sent this beautiful 5-page note, talking about how my dad was your best friend. So like that, my friend, is legacy. His name is not going to be on any hospital, right? His any company that he created is not going to like go into perpetuity long after he's gone. Right. Yeah. But the people that are still alive, they will remember him with such gracious, authentic, genuine love. Right. Like that's when you really lived a beautiful life. And
so this is beautiful. Legacy, legatia, a gift by will. A gift that we leave while we're alive. We interviewed Steve Chandler. Steve Chandler says, why does everybody wait to die to leave their legacy? He's pretty comical and he gets right to the point, right? But many of us are leaving that impact right now. And it doesn't have to be 3,800 people. It's not what's written on stones. It's what's written in the hearts of people that you impact. And if you can impact one.
Beautiful. And the thing is, But like, if you impact one, you have impacted the whole fucking universe.
Correct. Right. Explain that. Can you go into that?
Yeah. It's just like, we get so caught up in metrics, right? It's like, well, what's the scale of my impact? How many people I'm going to,
my value, like, right?
Stop. Just stop for a moment. It's just like, do you know the generational impact of you having a real impact on any one individual's life? Like you impact their entire lineage on a go forward basis.
Huh.
Like into perpetuity. I mean, think about it, Nick. We are a product of how we grew up and where we grew up, right? So literally, so that's one link. I always think about it this way. It's like if I impact one person, I know for a fact I've impacted generations that will come from that. Right? So that's one piece. The second one is the universe knows intention. So even though you think you're impacting that one person, if you hold that intention of wanting to be in service, you don't even realize that you are being in service just by being you. You know, one of my I am statements is that I am that just my presence is enough.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Right? Because like I told you before this call started, I was like, I have singular intention for this call. I want to be in service. I don't care what I look like. I don't care what comes up for me. As Karan's out of the picture, right? Like I want to be in service. So that intention, like I carry that with me all day long. And I know for a fact, I'm actively sometimes thinking about how I help this person, but subconsciously, I know for a fact I'm going around because that intention is alive and well in me.
Do you think that got enhanced when your dad passed away?
I think a lot of reflections, came through. And for those of you who still have your mom and dad around, man, I don't care if you don't talk to them, pick up the phone. And, like I guarantee you're going to miss them when they're gone. So, this is public service announcement, call your parents. But I think it is like when you lose, and like, my father was such a father figure, right? He was the patriarch of the family and just a, beautiful, strong personality. I think when you lose someone like that, like I had to find what's my role now in this family. Right. And so it's like, holy shit, like I have to be the patriarch of the family now, And so I think a lot of the introspection that's happened for me in the last 4 or 5 months has come from that place. I'm like, that man was holding a certain energy, a grounding energy for the entirety of the family that we never even realized he was doing until he was gone.
So interesting, right? There's an energetic shift, like a passing of the baton, right?
It is like a little vacuum gets created because it's not what's said. It's not even what's done. It's just, we talk about holding space in ceremony, right? Your parents hold space in this universe while they're still here for you, whether you realize it or not, whether you talk to them or not. And when they're gone, you will feel, and this is why, people are like, man, losing your parents is just tough. I don't care how old you are. It's like, yeah, because there's this normalization process of you kind of getting recentered and figuring out, okay, well, how do I step into that energy?
Yeah.
So I think, a lot of my views, have matured in the last 5-6 months. It's been a beautiful journey.
Well, I think it's interesting. We've got a large population that's aging, right? 65 plus, millions of people that, they maybe have gone through figuring themselves out, overcoming, whatever they were handed when they were born, their development, going through and growing something in this world that's of value. But many of them are getting to the point that they're thinking of legacy, right? What impact will I have when I'm gone? Because you're getting to that age where it's like, what was my real purpose for being here? Because we think in social terms, it's about accomplishing something. It's about, having a business like what you created or overcoming yourself. But really the impact that we're here to make is the ripple, the legacy, the impact we have in other people's lives because of our being.
And your legacy, you don't get to sit here and craft your legacy, right? Like it's just like that comes from the ego. And think about it. It's one of the old, I'm sure everybody's heard this.
Yeah.
No, but like this is, so I'm going to go a little deep on that. Is that all right?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, let's unpack this for just a moment because this is, I think there's real value in this conversation. In our Western society, we don't talk enough about death, and death has been one of my biggest teachers. So, I believe it was the Mayans that talked about there's 3 layers to death, right? Like the first time you die is when, you're 6, 7, 8 years old and you come to the understanding of there's death, right? Like all of a sudden, like prior to that, you have no idea that this thing exists called death. And then somehow an uncle dies or somebody's like, wait a minute, there's death. Then you ask the question like, Mom, am I going to die someday? And she's like, yeah, but not for a long time. So the first time you have an awareness of death is the first time you die. Like you become aware of your mortality, right? The second time you die is when you actually die. You croak, they bury you, or they, do whatever need to, and you're gone. And that's a death, right? We aren't that afraid of the first death. We're actually not even afraid of that second death. Then there'll come a moment in time, that'll be the last time your name is ever uttered.
Holy crap. Yeah.
There will be a day when no one will ever say the word Nick when they're calling for you ever again. I mean, complete annihilation of your existence as if you had never existed to begin with.
Holy cow.
How many people were born who have died and we don't even know that they were here? The ego can't handle it.
Yeah.
That is the complete annihilation. So what do? We come up with these ideas of like, here I'm going to create this legacy and my name, big font on these, and it's like, wait a minute, like think about it.
Yeah.
In 3 generations, no one's going to know your name. No one. Right. And even if you are like Abraham Lincoln and you're one of these great men, in like 150 to 200 years, you're a blow up doll at a, that's being waved around at a used car sales lot for President's Day sale. Do you know what I mean? Like, so this concept of legacy of it's us trying to avoid that last and final death, which is the complete annihilation of ego. And we think of legacy from that point. And that conversation on legacy is always driven in what can I leave in this 3-dimensional world? Because I will not be here, but my proxy will still be here.
That's the ego wanting to live.
That's the ego.
Yeah.
That's one legacy, right? The other legacy is it happens because of how you chose to live. My father never sat and was like, oh, I want to leave a legacy that, when I pass away, people are refusing for me, my burial to move on because they want to. He didn't give a shit.
He didn't write out this vision of legacy.
Like if I used to talk to my dad about, legacy, we had some deep conversations. He never gave a shit, right? So the legacy is a byproduct of how you're living your life today. And you don't know what it's going to be. Like you can have a meaning and, like, yeah, I want people to remember me this way, just like I told you I do. I don't know whether that's just for me to drive how I want to show up and how I want to move in this world right now. But what will my legacy will be? I don't fucking know. And guess what? I'm not going to be here to find out. So it's okay.
Yeah. I want to pull it back in because I see this segue into being, right? Right. Like the legacy is what reflects out of you, what's expressed from you. It's your way of being. And it's not a creation. It's not something tangible like you would leave a mark behind. If you look at a dead tree, there's evidence that energy once flowed through that tree. And we know because there's a dead tree there. So at one point, energy flowed through that. But that energy is no longer in there. And in our worlds, we have an energy that we're going to flow out to the world. It's going to express from us. And whatever that is, we're going to leave an impact with that. Positive, negative, it doesn't matter. The world doesn't care. It's just going to give back whatever's coming out of us. And our ego wants to be remembered for something awesome. It's going to put down in journaling, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this impact. But what really shows up is who you're being. It doesn't matter what you write down or what you create. You could be a CEO of a company and be a terrible human. You could be a CEO of a company and make positive impact. That doesn't matter. The outcome doesn't matter. What matters is what's getting expressed. That's what I'm hearing. Tell me if I'm wrong in that.
No. And the beauty of these conversations, Nick, is there's so many layers to them, and we can go as deep as you want, my friend. So I'll take you one more time. I'll take you one more layer with me, okay? And this is a teaching from my mother. She is incredibly wise, incredibly connected, just a beautiful, beautiful human. And I kind of kid around, and I say, like, I love spending time with her. Like I would hang out with her even if she was not my mother. She's that cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And so this was a teaching from her a while ago when I was struggling through a handful of things in life, when I was having my midlife crisis, and it just stuck with me because it was so powerful and so potent. So this is my gift to whoever this lands on. And this is a teaching from the Vedas, right? From the ancient scriptures. It's not a religious teaching. It's a wisdom teaching. So I want to make that distinction. And this is what it says. When you are born, and this is going back to your analogy of energy flew through you, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm bringing back to. When you are born, you come into this world and consciousness flows through you out into the world.
Yeah.
You're a child. You want to grab things. You know, you want to learn to walk. You want to touch things. You want to feel things. You get a little bit older. You want to learn to play sports. You get a little bit older. You want to experience the opposite sex, right? You get a little, like you like hearing music, and that becomes, you like visual things. And then you want to create something in the world because you want to go get your fair share. So all of this consciousness comes into you through your vessel, and it goes out into the world to explore the world, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Very, very natural progression. Now, there are no straight lines in nature, right? There's waves and circles, right?
And fractals. Yep.
Imagine this, that your life is in fact a perfect circle, right? That's a symbol of balance, right? Ebbed and it flowed and it came back to where it started. It's a perfect circle. So a life well lived ought to be in alignment with universal principles. As you're born, the outward expansion of your consciousness started. I'm going to go explore all these things out here in the world.
You branch out, right?
Yeah, that's the outflow. That's the outflow. And then there comes a point in time when it's time to come back home. And you take all of that consciousness that's flowed through all your senses to explore the world out here. You take it in here to go explore what's in here. Right? And that's the internal, like the full circle of, okay, you know, take all of that, come back in here, figure out, what is this? Why is this? Where is this? Right? And that's being.
Yeah. Yeah. Who does this say it is? How does this perceive? How does...
Yeah, exactly.
Go.
Like we know, like you're not your body because, you know, this is your hand. You literally know, you can point to it and say, hey, this is my hand. There's a person, a singular, that's saying, you know, so we know, you know, okay, I have one. This is not mine. Like, just like this is my phone. I never confused myself with my phone. I said, this is my phone. There's a me and I have a phone. My hand, there's a me, I have a hand, right? Subject, object, one subject, infinite objects. You with me? So most of us run through our life identified as our body, right? I'm this body, like I'm fit, I'm fat, whatever. Yes, you have a body, you have a beautiful body, or you have a, you know, slightly overweight, who cares? But you're not your body, right? So this is just the layers. We can keep going in it, right? So
yeah, let's please do. Yeah.
So, okay, so you are not your body. You know that because we literally just talked through it, you know.
Yep.
If you can see it and you can point to it, there's something that's doing the seeing and the pointing. So the subject can never be the object. So you're not your body. You take it a little deeper. Well, like, okay, well, then I'm my thoughts. No, you are aware of your thoughts. So there's something that's even deeper than your thoughts that's sitting back there that's aware of the fact that you are thinking.
Yeah.
Emotions, like, no. Aren't there times you're aware? Aren't there times you're going to get angry and you catch it just in time so you can stop yourself? So there's something that's even aware of the emotions. So the Vedas say there are a lot of relative truths, but there's only one eternal truth. And the eternal truth is that which can never change. Relative truths can change over time, right? At some point, this body was 5 years old and looked different. Then it became 12 years old. Now it looks different.
Right.
30, it looks different, right? So the body changes. The body's not the truth. You used to think your Santa Claus was real. Now you think Santa Claus is not real. Your thoughts change, right? There's change in there. It's not eternal. You used to feel good about the fact that you're in love. Now you don't feel so good about the fact that, you know, you're in love. Emotions change.
Yeah.
But the being, bringing it back to why we're here, the being is the truth that never changed. Nick, when you were 5, and you looked in the mirror and you saw the little boy, it's the same thing that looks through your eyes now and sees this beautiful man. Yeah,
let's hang here for a minute because this is deep. You know, I hear of the being movement, you know, as a movement, as though it's something that's happening out here. But what it really comes back to is you don't create being any more than you create legacy. Right. Being is at your core, that core self that exists, whether you want it to or not, whatever you whatever identity you put on it, it's beyond that even. But what we do is we take the ego and we say, you know, our declaration statements of I am this, and we try and create being as these statements, and then try and live into those as though we're manipulating the being into being that, right? It's the ego trying to control what being is.
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? So like, you want me to give you a complete sentence that just absolutely just says what being is?
Yeah, let's do it.
Being is.
It just is.
Being is the essence. It is the essence. It is the quantum field. It is the venue of all possibilities. It is both the wave and the particle. It is all there ever was. It's the alpha. It's the omega.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And your being is not your being. It's just the same being that emanates everything. You know, we talk about why we're all connected. Let's go there.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's being. So it's not your fucking being. It's not my fucking being.
Yeah.
It is being. You understand?
Yeah.
So, you know, Steve talks about like lipstick on the pig when we talk about being. Like, I think people miss it. Like, there's a bastardized being by making it your own being.
But we do.
We do, but the thing, like, think about the beauty of this. You have the entirety of the possibility set in the universe available to you. And yes, within that, you came in this incarnation to have an experience. So what you want to craft out of that being will be yours.
Cool. Yeah.
But the being is not fucking yours. The being is. It is literally the thing that allows you to create whatever you want to create in your life. You don't create being. Being creates you. It never needed you. It just is. And that's why it is so powerful if people just understand this. So when you get comfortable and connected with your being, what you create in this world is not your creation. It is being flowing through you, you as a vessel doing what it does best, which is being.
The vessel becomes attached to the creation. There's a video called The Egg. I don't know if you've seen that on YouTube. And it talks about this concept similar to what you're describing here, that the consciousness wanted to experience itself. So it created other consciousness, or consciousness is something like that, to experience the world. And then it connected to the world through that. So they're all still connected to the being. The being just is, but the vessel, us, we think we are something separate from, because we can have these thoughts. So we strive to tell being what it is. We strive to put our humanness on being. We what do they call that? Amorphize, where you put human characteristics on animals and other things.
Well, and God, right? Like God is a human, sure. You know, I guarantee you, if dogs could talk, they'll tell you their God doesn't look anything like human. So yeah. But again, I think let's make it really, really. Like, this could be a very philosophical conversation. Sure. But I want it to also be very, very practical. Yeah. Right? Let's do. Let's pull it back in. Yeah. So let's come back to, you know, like, this is such a beautiful and bizarre way to say it. What's the practical use of being? I mean, but that's the society we live in. And while it's beautiful to explore these deep fundamental ideas from a place of just pure intellectual curiosity without any endeavors of applying them, I think that's a different domain. Let's come back to actually applying them. So what does it look like, feel like, smell like? So if you believe, and you don't have to, you know, we're just making an argument for it. If you believe that being just is, right, and it emanates everything, it's literally the canvas on which anything can be painted. But the beauty is, you came here to paint something. What Nick wants to paint is very different than what Karan wants to paint, is very different than what Rose wants to paint, is very different than people on the live stream that they want to paint. And you've had that desire to paint that for a reason. Yeah. Like, your desires have divinity in them. How did you get them? I have never once, my sister's a physician. Never once in my life did I ever want to be a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, Indian family, the black child. Right, is like, nope, sorry, that's going to be a hard pass, right? So, meanwhile, she can't help but be in service. So, where did that come from for her? Like your desires, listen to me, people, the things that get you fired up and excited, and you're like, man, I really want to create this world. They're your desires. They were given to you. They are divine. You not reaching out and risking parts of your life to go after them. It's spiritual suicide. If you have a desire, it was given to you for a reason. We'll talk about attachment to your desire another time. That's a different conversation. But so many people like learn to honor your desires. When a desire pops into my head about starting a company or starting a venture, like I don't question it. It's like, well, that's interesting, And so I think in the context of that, like, what is being? So here's what I mean by, let me bring it like full circle.
Yeah.
Here's a being, art of all possibility. Here is you, an individuated person, still of being, but you come with your own experiences you want to have, right? So for you, Nick, your I am statements, they're not creating being, they are directing being.
Okay, hit that. Say that again, because that's where the power of purpose and legacy and vision, they all tie together with that directing being.
This is what it is. The art of all possible. Everybody on this call, every one of your desires is valid. Look at me. It is valid. All right. You have it for a reason. And we all have different ones.
Can I interject into that real quick?
Please.
A desire from siring, right? To sire something or to plant seed in, right? That it has divinity in it, that seeds come with divinity in them. They're already the tree. They just haven't expressed yet. And so every desire essentially is a seed, and every seed is unique, but it comes equipped with everything it needs to express what it's capable of. Right.
So beautiful.
So just want to plug that in there because we are that seed in a sense.
We are that seed. And I'll come back to that part of the conversation, but to go to kind of what we're talking about. So like if I could give you a conceptual framework, like a model, it sounds so trite to talk about being as a model, but this is how we consume information. And my mind always thinks in big frameworks and models. So like a model of reality could be not a model of reality, if you choose that, could be, here is being. This is the art of the possible. Anything that has ever existed, anything that's ever been created, any inspired idea that has ever happened, any level of perseverance, any person you admire who has done something where you look at them, you're like, holy fucking shit, how in the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
All of that lives here.
Exactly what I say. Yep.
That lives in being, right? Art all possible. Now you have a desire of what you want to create here, right? You just get to plug into being and direct what part, like, oh, you want success? You want to create wealth, or you focus on relationships? Oh, you want to build a private equity firm? Oh, you want to be a musician? Whatever that is, this is your filter. Everybody's not going to want to be everything that ever was and ever will be.
That's also the filter of limitations. Becky Robbins, I interviewed her and she said that she doesn't set goals because she limits herself. So she won't set a goal because it's too limiting. And Townsend Wardlaw says that a belief becomes limiting by the nature of believing it. And so that filter also becomes the limiting nature of our being, or our directing of being.
Yeah. So I take a little bit different approach on that.
Please.
And because the goal becomes the limit, assumes that you can't set a bigger goal when you achieve it. Right? I think goal setting is critically important because a lot of the times the reason you don't set goals is because you don't believe you can actually do it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to prove to yourself that you can't do it. And so you say, well, I don't want to set any goals. And I was like, great. Okay, well, you know what? When I'm a pilot, when I get in my plane and I fly, I have to set a fucking goal in my GPS of where the hell I'm going. Right? I'm a captain of a ship. I have to set a goal of what my next port is. That doesn't mean that's the entirety of my journey, but that's my next step.
Cool.
Right?
So tie that back into purpose, right? Because a purpose could be the goal.
Certainly could be.
A place to rest.
And you get to create as many as you want. Like we just, oh my God, I love the human condition so much.
Yeah.
We create our limitations because we think whatever it is that we're setting, we're stuck to that forever. So I don't even want to set us. Like, no, You wake up tomorrow, I think it's Ralph Waldo Emerson said, foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of silly minds or simple minds.
Yeah.
Right? Foolish, like, I'm going to do this. Like, no, you have agency. So the reason you set goals is not to achieve them, but to give you a direction to start so you can accumulate experiences.
Yeah.
And those experiences will inform better decisions. Your decisions that you make while you're sitting here contemplating an idea are useless, especially people in business, useless. Okay. You have to get in the muck. You have to roll in it. You have to be in it, and new insights will come. And those insights will now drive whether or not the goal that you set is still valid for you. Right. And you give yourself complete agency and permission for, if in 3 years you mature and that goal is no longer valid, beautiful. But now it's not valid because you pursued it, and you're actively choosing not to do it, not because you don't think you can do it, because you can do it, you just don't want to.
Yeah.
And that in here, right? For everybody that's like, if you quit because you just weren't sure if you could get it done and you chickened out, or if you said, no, I'm going to do something different because I'm capable of it and it's just not for me. You can't, when you sit by yourself, Nick, you can't lie to yourself. And like, I think here's a nugget for everybody that's, every single one of you absolutely know when you show up and play full out, and whether or not you gave it everything you had or whether you used an excuse. I don't care who you convince of anything, And you want to become really successful? Stop fucking negotiating with yourself. Knock it off. It's not a secret. Like, this is it. When you sit by yourself and nobody's fucking around and it's just you, look in the mirror and say, God damn it, man, I'm really proud of how I show up for me. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Man, can I make some connections here that I'm seeing? The being just is. Being is. And then we have us, our consciousness, our who we think we are, directing that being, our limitations, our beliefs, all of that. And we step into the unknown, which is unknown for everybody. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow any more than I know what's going to happen tomorrow. But you find that by setting goals and purposes that you can roll around in the muck and start to find your pathway. And you take whatever resources are around you and you turn those into something else, following essentially the laws of thermodynamics and converting what is into what can be. And the legacy and the impact is what comes from all of that. It's the blending of all of it. Legacy isn't just being. Legacy isn't just what you create in this world. It's the combination of being with your directing of that being and being willing to step into that unknown and take the resources that surround you to create what you were divinely implanted with. Is that a fairly clear pathway?
No, you have a beautiful way with language, Nick. That's so well said. And let me add one more piece to it. It's probably one of my favorite topics. Uncertainty.
Yes. Yeah. Please.
You kind of brought that in. And here's what I like. If I could leave a gift with people, and that could be like the only thing I could leave with them. I talk to my kids about this all the time, and I was like, the day you start embracing uncertainty is the day your life becomes magic.
Amazing. Yep.
Like magic. Because I'm going to give you my framework. I'm a framework and models guy, right?
Let's do it. Yep.
Here is your aperture of what you think is possible for you today, right? This is your present moment. Yep. You have a lot of history. Nick, everything Nick thinks he can do tomorrow is predicated by what he's done in the past.
Correct.
It's a human condition, 100%. So when we say we're going to design our future, here's what we do. Here's our past back here. We grab it and we go, that's our future.
We lay it out there, right?
Yeah. And it's like, it's a little bit bigger than my past. Like, I've opened the aperture up a little bit, right? because that's the connective tissue. This is the human condition. What is not available to our consciousness in that moment in time doesn't show up for us as a possibility. And that is the limitation. So there's no cure for that, except for you change your relationship with uncertainty. Because, if you want something that has never happened to you to happen to you, you have to stand somewhere where you've never stood before and still be able to show up. Right.
Yeah.
And to me, my relationship with uncertainty is anytime things get really uncertain, I was like, I wonder how good this could get.
Yeah. See, this is cool.
I wonder
Margaret,
how good this could get, right? Because I know all the coolest things that have happened in my life, the ones that I, like, I don't drink anymore, but when I light a cigar and I'm sitting back and contemplating in my life, like, how in the hell did I end up here? First generation immigrant, like, poor as shit, just, like, my life is magic, right? And so I look back, and every single thing that's been seminal in my life, if this is my aperture of what I thought my future was, me just dragging my past, making it a little bit bigger, the most magical shit came from like out here or over here. Beyond
your aperture.
Beyond my aperture. Like, that's what uncertainty is. Uncertainty is something shows up that wasn't here. Because if it was here, it could be a challenge, but you kind of thought you would, you'll deal with it. Complete uncertainty where you're like, holy shit, now what?
Yeah. Train
yourself in that very moment to just sit for a moment, just calm down. And like, I get so fucking excited.
Okay.
Like when that shows up for me, because I'm really like, oh, like, holy crap. Like, I'm going to expand. I have no idea what's going to happen. This is going to be amazing. I know I'm a little psyched. That's how it works for me.
You're great around this. I think of Margaret Drabble. She says that when nothing is sure, everything is possible. And then the other quote that I think of is uncertainty has you look at reality exactly as it is and see what's possible. And the thing that I think I've seen with you with vision is I've seen your posts where you're sitting down and you're writing out clearly, and in some cases your vision of what's possible. And what could I create with this? What could I do? And really sitting with and visioning your future, imagining it. When you talked about imagination, Einstein says imagination is more important than knowledge.
Yep.
And when you take that unknown, it's not created. There's no guarantee. Whatever you bring from the past, that's not guaranteed. You just bring it forward and you say, see, I told you that's what's going to happen. So you bring your past forward and they call it the remembered presence is what they call it. You're not present. You have a remembered presence.
I like that.
So you're bringing all that past forward and then you're trying to predict from that. Even the word prediction means before you speak it into the world, you have a chance to play it out. So you predict it. And so here we are looking at the future, the unknown, and we predict based on our past experiences, and our aperture is narrowed, like you say, and we're like, I'll go a little bigger than that. And that's what most of us are doing.
I call that, well, this is my dad's term. He used to call them like the small knobs, right? Like back in the old VHF, UHF radio days, he was a comms guy for a while in special forces. So, carried like all that stuff. And he was like, before you dial the little knobs to get clarity, you dial the big knobs.
Okay,
right?
Cool. Yeah.
So it's just like we get like this aperture here.
Yeah.
Right. That's the little knob. Like you tune it in, like, yeah, okay, I kind of know. Like the big knob is saying, okay, you're like, no, like this is fine tuning. Like the bigger piece of this is actually abandoning this thing and saying this is the only art of the possible. This is just the art of the known. It's not the art of the possible.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a distinction there. Just like when you look at a map, right? The map is not the territory. We've heard that before.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we do. The known, listen to me, people. What you know to be true is not what is possible. It's just the known. Right. So that what you don't know is where the magic is. And the only way you get to that time and time again is if you change your relationship to uncertainty. That's it. I found no other shortcut to it. There's no other way to do this and bypass the human condition of needing certainty, except for actively changing your relationship. And the way I do it, you don't need to do it my way, is I genuinely get excited and I say, oh my God, how good could this get? And I also know if it turns out really, really poor, I'm resilient. I'll be fine. Everything life has ever thrown at me, I've dealt with. And if it's really, really shitty, I'll die soon and it'll be over. So like, I mean, it's all upside. Stepping into uncertainty is all upside. You could have something magical happen, or nothing changes, or even if it's shitty, you'll have a better character because of it, and then you'll die, and it's not going to matter. So
it won't matter. And this is such gold. To say you don't have to do it my way. Well, the truth is you can't do it your way. I wrote a book called The Sowing Seeds. And the idea was you can't plant a olive seed and grow a watermelon tree. It just doesn't happen. So your seed tends to produce whatever it's engineered to produce. And Karan, you have this ability and your gift is to do what you're doing, and you're using that gift to impact the world. And every person on here has a different version of that gift.
Beautiful.
Like they will never be the same as another person next. They can't be. They're not engineered that way. And so it just gives creative freedom to the viewer to just watch and see what their gift is, and then follow that into the uncertainty, right? What could you do with that? What's possible? Even that sounds really limiting to me. It's because everything is truly possible.
Yeah.
There's nothing off the table.
Everything is possible. And I think like that's, let's not get caught up in the paradox of choice. Like, and that's a known paradox, right? The more choices you have, the harder it is to make a choice. It's like, you ain't making a choice forever. Start. Like you are here. You're not happy. You're not content, whatever that is, right? But you think you go get this thing in the universe and it'll make you happy. It won't, but I want you to go get it. So we're talking about a technology that allows you to go get these things that you want in the universe. Do it quickly. I talk about this all the time. Don't fucking waste 20 years. Like hurry up, go get the thing that you want. I wish wealth and success on all my friends as quickly as possible. So they realize, yes, this is nice. It's amazing and it's great. And this is really not it.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
Right. And so, yes, so let's not get all like, I think when we get a paradox of choice, we start to like, no, one thing at a time. Okay. First of all, use the being technology to go achieve what you want to achieve in life. Because before you become a philosopher, be the king, right? It's just like, if money's important to you, go make a bunch of it before you start talking about how money's not important, right? Because like inside you will know. Yeah. Like, I mean, think about how many people you know that talk about like, oh, money's not important, but man, if I was going to offer $1 million, they sure take me up on it, right? It's just like, it's not important to you because you haven't figured out how to play that game and you don't know how to make it. Okay, that doesn't make money not important. That makes it not important to you because you haven't cracked the code. So I'm talking about no shortcuts, no excuses, no bypasses. Yeah. Before you sit here and tell me money's not important, go at least build something where you're financially comfortable. Right? I'm not asking you to go build your empire, but go build something where you've tackled and you've dealt with, you have built the capacity to provide enough service out in the world to make enough money where it's no longer an issue for you. From that place, when you tell me money doesn't matter, I give you a fucking fist bump and say you're damn right. But until you get there and you come to me and you tell me money doesn't matter, it's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Hoping. Yeah. And everybody knows, and more importantly, you know, and it could take you 2 years to solve this instead of a lifetime of coping with it.
Yeah.
Don't you actually really want to know that the money is not that important? Like, it's a beautiful place to be because you could take away everything I own. Like, A, I know I'm going to create it in no time again because I know what course I need to go to create it, right?
Right.
B, like, none of my identity comes from anything I own. Take it. Like, it just doesn't. But I can be there because, listen, I turned 47. I worked on Wall Street for 10 years. I was a CEO of 2 different companies. I started one. I've done it. So when I talk about, I'm talking about from a place of having been there and done it. And success is relative. Like, people have done it much bigger. I'm not Bill Gates, right? So, but whatever success means to you, like, don't cheat yourself in not going after and achieving it before you start telling yourself it's not important. And that's, I would say, 50 to 80% of the people out there just they can't get past that. Like, they're just so stuck on like, it's an alibi. You know it. Most people you talk to know it. Nobody's going to tell it to you this way. Go make money, learn how to be successful in this physical world before you start talking about how you want to give back and do all the rest. Like, it's that important. You can't give what you don't have because the energy isn't there.
Yeah.
Right. And so, anyway, I get fired up about this.
Yeah, this is great. I know we could go down some rabbit holes and really explore this and really just lay out in front of everybody the philosophies that you have. And we're just touching the surface here. And I think, the being event or the TUB event in Birmingham will give a completely different perspective of Karan Rai. It's going to be totally different from this even. Like, this isn't a sampling of that. It's just, this is a tip of the iceberg of this man that we call Karan Rai, right?
I'm planning on being there. I'm planning on coming with intention to be in deep service for everybody who shows up. It's for a beautiful cause. I think this is beautiful technology, for the lack of a better word, if we do it the right way. So whatever it will be, but I'll be there. And
That's perfect.
and for anybody that's on here that hasn't bought their tickets yet, is considering buying your tickets, don't be a schlub. Go buy your tickets. Like, seriously.
That's
just
the
go
word.
Do it. Do it.
I love it. If there was, just as we wrap up, if there was one question you wish somebody would ask you, what would that be?
There was one question somebody could ask me. What would it be? Yeah, it would be, who are you? And
how would you answer that?
So I believe this is one of the deepest spiritual teachings, is answering this question.
Yeah.
Who are
you? Okay.
Because it cannot be answered by naming that what you are, right? Because who you are is the ultimate subject. And the minute you name it, it becomes an object. So the paradox lies in the fact that you can never name that what you are. The only way you can get a sense of its essence is by negating everything you are not. So I am not just a husband. I'm not just a father. I'm not just a boyfriend. I'm not just a son. I'm not just a businessman. I'm not just a man. I'm not just a body. I'm not just Indian. I'm not just 45. Like, these are all the labels that we carry around with us. And that's the beauty of it. Like, the most powerful things are so subtle that you can't reach for them directly. You have to experience them indirectly. And so my gift would be, if I could leave one with everybody, is ponder this question. Use this thing called via negativa, where you just take off the layers of everything you're not, and you go deep enough, there'll be a moment when you'll have a sensation of what you are, and it is so big and it's so expansive and it's so connected, and that's what being is. So that's what I would leave you with.
Yeah, what's so interesting is that thought of reducing everything that you're not from you. In most cases, we would think logically that would shrink you down to nothing. But what you find is it expands you, right? That's phenomenal.
Pure expansion. And that's being.
I love it. I pulled you back on, Rose. So
I was just writing notes.
There's a lot. Karan, thank you so much for being in this masterclass with us. Again, for everybody that's watching, if you haven't gotten your ticket, listen to Karan. Go get your ticket. It's easy. Just click on the next screen and buy it. If you have to leave right now to go do it, go do it. This is going to be a killer event. It is life-changing, because we're talking about, you talk about the technology of being. Now, what might happen at this event is that you might have some inspiration and ideas on how to direct that being for your life, for your gift, for your purpose, your legacy. And that could change everything. And so maybe the most impactful thing you've ever done in your life. So, Rose, thank you for running comments behind the scenes. Did you have a final thought before we wrap up?
It's been really, really great. And I love how you make it practical and relative fun. It's been an emotional journey, honestly, the whole time. And we've had the most number of live viewers that we've ever had on one of these masterclasses, which is really fun. It's been really great seeing. Some of the comments were fantastic, but they were so long that I didn't put all of them up. Like, someone's posted like 55 hearts on the comments, so I haven't shared it. And so there's been a lot of support here, and I think what you shared has really resonated with me and so many people. So thank you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Nick, always a pleasure to spend time with you, brother. Thanks for leading us in this conversation. Rose, thank you for setting it all up. For everybody that joined, I love you all. Please buy the ticket. It's for a really good cause. Even if you don't want to go, just buy the ticket and donate it to somebody else. That karma will pay itself forward. Being. That's all.
I love it. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
We will see you in the next episode.